moved back into the lead here at the halfway point in the competition. You talk about how dominant KJ Kindler's team has been in the last decade. They've won 6 of the last 9 NCAA championships. They've been ranked first for the last 2 years. And they've been a top 2 finisher in 10 of the last 11 seasons. What an incredible record. I'm Bart Connor along with Allie Raceman. What makes Oklahoma so good?
It's just remarkable. When we spoke to head coach Kindler, she said they're doing something new this year. The gymnasts who are consistently doing all-around or 3 events are getting an extra day off every single week. And Coach Kindler says she really feels that's made a huge difference because it allows them to have a mental break. And I admire this because even after so much success, Kindler is still trying to find ways to be even better.
And they're focusing on the details every day, even late in the season.
Absolutely. I think that they have the best form out of any team in the country. Even when you watch slow-mo, it's hard to find a deduction when you watch them.
Maybe that explains why KJ Kindler joins among the best college coaches of all time. We call it the Mount Rushmore of college coaches. Suzanne Yocklin at Georgia had 10 titles. Greg Marzin at Utah 9. Valerie Condos Field 7 at UCLA, and Sarah Patterson at Alabama, and KJ Kindler tied with 6 NCAA titles. Kindler, the only coach still actively coaching. Now, Ashley Johnston herself knows something about championships. 2-time national champion when she was competing at Alabama, 10-time All-American. Really impressed with what she's been doing with this team.
Yeah. Something that we talked about with Coach Johnston is that she really wants them to play gymnastics. And when we were talking to her, what really struck me is that she not only focuses on who they are as a gymnast, but also who they are outside of gymnastics and who they will be, which I think is incredible.
They walk in the gym and you know when they've arrived. They got sunglasses on, they're playing spike ball, they're having a good time. They're going to have to be great in this next rotation because the Sooners are now back in the lead. And this is a great one. Alabama at #1 Oklahoma. Alabama had the lead after the first rotations by 5/100ths of a point, but Oklahoma, after a fall, a total of 3 scores, 9.975 on bars, have surged into the lead by .375 here at the halfway point. So Oklahoma will go to the beam in this rotation, where they are the #1 team in the country. KJ Kindler, well known for creating some kind of a special sauce, and here she gives a few notes to Audrey Davis, who will be their leadoff competitor.
Yeah, I asked Coach Kindler, what do you say to Audrey before she goes on beam? And she said she goes through every skill in Audrey's routine, gives her small reminders to think about during the routine. Coach Kindler has so much trust in Audrey. She's so consistent. She says it's essential that Audrey starts on beam because she's a sure thing.
Did you have certain key words that you focused on when you were prepping for beam?
I try to remember to not hold back. My coach used to actually tell me to break the beam, to go so aggressive and not hold back at all. Because if you hold back on beam, that typically will end up with an error and you might fall.
Look at that. Her NQS, her national qualifying score, is over 9.9, and she's in a lead-off spot for this Sooners. Incredible. If there's one event that the Sooners have defined in the last decade, it is this event. KJ Kindler's specialty, the beam.
Yeah, I think that this event on balance beam for Oklahoma really sets them apart from everyone else.
Audrey Davis among the seniors and graduate students who are competing today for the last time in a home dual meet. They will be here next week for the Big 12 championships. But an emotional night for many of these young ladies who have friends and family in the crowd on senior day.
Yeah, it is such an emotional night because they all love gymnastics. They've been doing it their whole lives, and some of them are going to be retiring after this. Round off double twist, stuck landing.
Oh my. Just as you said, they can count on her.
Audrey's consistency is remarkable. This was the only deduction, obvious one, a wobble there. Very actually uncharacteristic for Audrey. That's how consistent she is. And then slight crisscross of the legs there. Very hard to squeeze your legs together at the end of the routine when you're tired.
Audrey Davis, all-arounder, but tonight just competing in 3 events, not in the vault, as Maddie Walagora will lead off for Alabama on the floor. They trail by just under 4/10 of a point. Alabama currently ranked 14th in the country on this event, but like vaulting, they're also known for big, high-flying tumbling.
Yeah, you're going to see right here this first tumbling pass. Front layout into front double fold. Looked a little too easy for her. What's impressive about going first on floor and also really challenging is that they have a 4-minute warm-up. And the person who goes first on floor has to have enough endurance to be able to quickly warm up their skills, their tumbling, their dance, and then have enough time to rest in order to go on floor. These floor routines are 1.5 minutes, but they require so much endurance and they're a lot more tiring than they look.
Think about these remarkable young women. 7 times this year she's been in the floor lineup. By the way, she also has a career-long 4.0 grade point average at Alabama and is getting her master's in health studies in the middle of all this and competing week in and week out at a high level for this great team.
Round off 1.5 punch front layout. That layout floated in the air. Great start. It's always so important to go first up because it really gets the rest of the team pumped up, excited. It gives them the confidence, especially when you're going under the undefeated team like Oklahoma.
Talk about an athlete who contributed a whole bunch the end of the season here. Ava Sigfield, rarely in the lineup for the Sooners, steps in on vault and then beam in the 2nd spot. Last week gets a perfect 10, first time ever in the competitive lineup for the Sooners on beam, and she gets a 10.
I love this. I watched this and I was so excited and so happy for her to go in your first time competing on beam, especially in this lineup. You could argue
a perfect 10, first time ever in the competitive lineup for the Sooners on beam, and she gets a 10.
I love this. I watched this and I was so excited and so happy for her to go in your first time competing on beam, especially in this lineup. You could argue that making this Oklahoma lineup is probably the hardest lineup in the entire country. So the fact that she got in and got a 10, handled that pressure. That handspring layout, you know, this is the 2nd mistake we've seen from Oklahoma, and it's uncharacteristic of them, but at the end of the day, there's, as I mentioned in the beginning, they are #1. Everyone's watching them. It's so much pressure. It's a little bit crooked on that back handspring layout, and when you're already off on beam, there's really not a lot you can do about it.
Audrey Davis led the Sooners off with a 9.925.
You know, even though we're in week 11, they don't want to be perfect here tonight. The goal will be to peak at national championships. So this is still a place where they can get their nerves out and learn. Back handspring gainer full. Finished really well on that routine. It is not a fun feeling to make a mistake on your first skill. It takes a lot of courage and confidence to continue that routine again. Right here, back handspring layout. You see that front foot was, half of it looked like it was off the beam.
You talk about finding that balance between control and aggression. It's not an easy thing, especially on enormous pressure.
It's not, and especially when you're nervous, sometimes you forget the cues in your mind that you remember in practice.
Ella Burgess now for Alabama on floor after Maddie Walagora led them off with a strong 9.875. Opportunity for Alabama to get back in this. They can continue to be clean here.
Double pike. What's really cool about that first pass on floor is Ella had a previous injury and she didn't think she'd ever be able to do a double back again. So she's really proud that she's able to do it and compete it so well. Another double tuck. What's stands out to me about Ella when I watch her compete on floor and beam is she's always smiling. And she talks about how that's really important to her because when she smiles, it reminds her to have fun, but it also helps calm her down.
Coach Johnson said she really focuses on details. She's become quite a leader on this team. She's a senior out of Florida. Another athlete whose career will be coming to the end, likely at the end of this season. A lot of emotions with these young women that have been in the sport for most of their lives.
Front full into front layout. I love how Ella does a 3-pass routine. We often see a 2-pass, so I like how she's challenging herself with a 3-pass routine.
Some of the toughest athletes on campus. She had an Achilles injury. She was out a couple of years ago. Back in the lineup and contributing to this team that has won 10 SEC championships, 6 NCAA championships. One of the great teams of all of women's sports, not just gymnastics. Ava Sigfeld had a 9.925, so Jordan Bowers, you see her average is over 9.9. The Sooners, 9.225, pardon me. 9.225 for Sigfeld, so Bowers now in a very interesting position because getting the momentum back is key after a fall especially.
Yeah, I think for Jordan, this is probably the most important routine in the entire competition for the Oklahoma Sooners because she's got to get this team's confidence back. Back handspring layout.
Coaches tell us that she just exudes confidence in everything she does. She might be exactly the right person for this moment.
Absolutely, yeah. Coach KJ Kindler talks about how she is fire and passion. What I like about Jordan is she has a lot more choreography in this routine than most gymnasts. It doesn't give her extra bonus points, but it leaves the judges with a better impression. Dismount, round off, double twist, stuck landing. That's what they needed to do.
That's a good moment for her, who's not often in the beam lineup.
This is beautiful. Back handspring layout. And then round off double twist. I feel like this has gotten improved. It's hard to keep your legs together, as I mentioned before, when you're tired.
She's had 10s in her career on vault, bars, and beam. Nothing yet on the, vault, bars, and floor. And of course, getting a 10 on each event is called the Gym Slam. It is coveted among the all-arounders in college gymnastics. Only 14 gymnasts in history have done it. Here's exciting Jamison Sears now for Alabama.
Huge double layout. We were watching her in warm-ups, and she just has a dance party the whole time. Just always looks like she's having so much fun.
Ella Burgess before her at 9.9.
Showing off her flexibility there. I like the height on her jumps there. Jamison is so outgoing that she actually led a pep rally her freshman year earlier on in the fall in front of all of the students.
She seems like she's always going to be at the front of the line when there's a conga dance or something. A lot of fun, a lot of energy, and this is a great routine so far.
Front through to a double tuck. Makes gymnastics look so easy. And the way she's performing, that's how she is on the side when the rest of her teammates are performing and in warm-ups. So fun to watch her.
Jamison Sears, there'll be big expectations for her because 7 of the athletes at Alabama this year, seniors and graduates, will be retiring. So they're going to count on her power.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch her. She has a very bright future. Watch the height that she gets. Straddle over 180 degrees, which is what the judges are looking for. Front through into double tuck. Love the way that she performs that routine.
This is an important moment now for the Sooners. Faith Torres coming after Jordan Bowers, a 9.95 for her. Remember, Torres had a 9.275 in the first rotation after the fall on bars, and Oklahoma already has one fall here on the beam.
Very difficult side aerial into back layout, step out. It's hard for most people to even do that on the floor on a straight line, let alone on the balance beam.
Do you ever think about modifying your routine when your team's under pressure, changing a skill or doing an easier routine?
I've wanted to, but my coach never let me, because I think that the hope is that you do what you do in practice every single day. These are the moments. This is why these gymnasts train so hard every day, for moments like that.
Faith Torres, what a comeback after that uncharacteristic mistake on the last event.
And I think with gymnastics, especially when you're Oklahoma, they want to win a national championship. So Coach KJ Kindler says it's everything or nothing. You kind of have to go big or go home, and when you hold back, that's when you tend to have more mistakes.
You see the Olivia Troutman on the sidelines there, the former champion at Oklahoma, now on the coaching staff. She was known as the secret weapon for the Sooners because she usually came on late in the season and delivered some key performances. Jamison Sears, 9.925 for the freshman. Lily Hudson now.
Front layout into front double twist. I thought she was actually going to be a little under-rotated on that, but managed to do that landing well. It's very hard to have that balance, especially when you're excited, you're pumped up, you've got your teammates cheering for you. Hard to not get too excited. I feel like when I watch other sports, it's good to be pumped up. But in gymnastics, you just want to do your normal. Double tuck. Oh, a little bit over-rotated on that. The judges will take off for that. In that 4-inch mat right there is not a deduction. It's just to help with the extra sting on that landing. I think it's really smart this late in the season just to protect their body a little bit more.
Even that landing looked a little bit like she didn't really want to plant it into the ground because, you know, that takes a toll on the ankles, doesn't it?
Yeah, oftentimes when you stick the landing, it can be a little bit more of a sting. This pass, see, her shoulders were a little bit too far back for me. I'd love to see them upright. And then this double tuck had a little bit too much juice at the end of that routine. But the judges would rather see an over-rotation rather than an under-rotation because she's showing she's got enough endurance at the end of her routine.
Faith Torres, talk about a comeback. She had a 9.975 on beam. And that brings up Kat Levasseur. Kat in the all-around today already has a 9.9 on vault and a 9.975 on bars.
I've been very impressed with Kat's consistency, but also her form. I think a lot of gymnasts around the world want to know her secret.
Oh.
Back handspring, layout, step out.
What do you think it is?
You know, I don't know, honestly. I think for some gymnasts, it's like you either have it or you don't. But I think it requires another level of perfectionism, of just making sure that everything you do is done to the most perfect ability. But it's really hard to do that. I personally couldn't do it like that when I was competing. Showing off her flexibility. Coach Kindler really emphasizes the dance. She wants to work on the releve.
Releve, of course, is being high up on that foot when you're in a turn or pose on beam.
Back handspring gator full.
Oh.
Small step on that landing.
talked about Kindler focusing on the details. You mentioned releve and other elements. I mean, that's really one of the difference makers with this team is their focus on the precise execution.
Yeah, Coach Kindler talked about how she, after they're done with their routines, she makes them do extra routines. She calls them Hollywood routines, and they have to knock her socks off. So they have just as much of an emphasis on the choreography and the dance as they do on the acro skills, and I think that that sets them apart on events like beam and floor.
Oklahoma has 3 scores 9-9 or better. Remember, they still have one fall that they hope to replace that score, and this brings up Luisa Blanco. Lily Hudson had a 9-8. So Alabama doing a really nice job here on floor with 2 scores 9-9 or better.
Double pike. I don't think she'll receive any deduction for that. She opened up at the right time. On floor, you are allowed to lunge out of your tumbling passes. You don't have to stick it. It's the only event you don't get a deduction if you take a step.
This is one of the events where she scored perfect 10 last week. Interesting note for Olympic fans, she has qualified for the Olympics. She'll compete for her home country of Colombia.
Yeah, and Coach Johnston talked about how they're trying to manage making sure they're resting her enough because she's basically been in peak shape for the last 2 years. When you're trying to balance being an elite gymnast, competing at the Olympics this summer, but then also competing at the NCAA level every single week, it's exhausting. And so I'm really impressed with how well she's been able to manage it.
Went to the Pan Am Championships and earned the highest all-around spot for an athlete not on a already competing team, which earned her a spot to the Paris Olympics. So we'll see her this summer.
Another 3-pass routine, which I love. The last pass had really good control on that front layout. Watch this double pike. I like how she's actually more open, which tells me she has a lot of ease with it and gets a lot of height. And then watch her shoulder position and her chest is up.
Blanco is also one of the 6 finalists for the AAI award. This is her 2nd year in a row. That award is given to the top senior student athlete. Reagan Smith, 9.99 beam average. There was a 4-week stretch where she scored 4 perfect 10s back to back to back to back. How remarkable is that?
It's incredible. I think Reagan is the queen of the beam, and it shows. Slight wobble on that, but when we talked to Coach Kindler, she said Reagan despises mediocrity. If she's in practice and she has a slight waiver like we just saw in that back handspring layout, she will do it again until she feels it's a 10-0 routine.
7 times in her career she has scored 10s. That ties her on the beam, ties her with Maggie Nichols, the Oklahoma legend.
Love the flexibility that Reagan has. That straddle jump was over 180 degrees. The judges are looking for 180. Anything less will be a deduction.
5th-year senior here at Oklahoma, so especially emotional night for this young lady as her career is wrapping up in front of friends and family.
Back handspring gainer full. Love the way she has time to open her hips up to spot that landing. I think Reagan is she cares so much about being perfect on beam. She's going to be bummed with this back handspring layout. For anybody else, they'd be thrilled with this beam routine, and she should be proud of herself, but she's used to being perfect on this event.
Well, here's the thing for the Sooners, and the most important thing is Kat Levasseur had a 9-9. Reagan Smith got a hit, so they will be able to replace that 9.225 earlier in the lineup. So the Sooners can come away with a strong beam score, once again reminding people why they're the #1 team in the country. Here is Gabby Gladio for Alabama coming after Luisa Blanco. Got a 9-9.
Watch the height that she gets on this. Doesn't even have to use her legs to help her with the rotation. Johnston says that on game days, Gabby gets in the zone, and when she's in the zone, get out of her way.
They said they don't care whether it's board games or spike ball, she is in to win. She's a sophomore from North Carolina, big expectations for her as well, and certainly one of the heir apparent to this great program. She's a very balanced all-around gymnast.
These dance elements, a lot of it is choreographed in the routine to allow these gymnasts to rest in between their jumps and in between their tumbling passes.
She has deceptive power. The coaches call her somewhat of a pogo stick when she takes off on the floor.
Watch this split jump. So hard to control that at the very end of the routine, but I love the height on that split jump.
Amelia Hundley giving her congratulations. Amelia on the staff, the former All-American at Florida, now coaching at Alabama.
Love the ease of this tumbling pass. Tuck full in. And then watch this split jump. I love her chest up. So difficult to do at the end of the routine when you're tired. Alabama has been so fun to watch. I couldn't help but watch them in warm-ups. They just have a dance party. They have so much fun, and I think it really shows. You know, when I talk about Ashley Johnston talks about having fun, you can really see it. They really walk the walk.
The Oklahoma Sooners are in the lead, and some clutch performances on beam in that third of 4 rotations will retain the lead over Alabama. We do not yet have the score for Gabby Gladio, but we do have one of the most dominant coaches in all of collegiate history. KJ Kindler is with us. KJ, what are you seeing from your team that impresses you, and what would you like to see more of as you go into the 4th and final rotation?
Hey there. I know this will sound a little odd, but these misses that we've had today have really tested our team. We haven't had a lot of this year, so I actually like what I'm seeing, the way they're responding after those misses. We haven't had a lot of practice with that, and I can't think of a better time to do it than right now before we go into the postseason. So I've been really happy about how they've responded. They could be a little more aggressive in those moments, but you know, this is the first time they're doing it, so I'm happy with that.
Every competition is a learning experience,
yes.
And good luck as you continue throughout today and through the rest of the season.
Thanks,
Oklahoma, they are on top, averaging 9.93 today. They lead by a little over a half a point. They will go to the floor, and Alabama will be on the beam in the 4th and final rotation here. The Sooners at home have the lead on Senior Day.